Welcome to Creepypasta. Please like, share and subscribe. This will help us make more content for you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, I've been messed up by a trash bag. I've been thinking about this for a month, and decided against posting it because I thought it sounded insane. But it's upended my view of reality. I moved recently. In my old house there were a lot of items left by the previous tenant, who happened to be a friend, so they left me many items I needed, as it was easier for both of us, but many unneeded items as well. I was standing in the bathroom with a trash bag at my feet that was slightly behind me, so I was taking items from the sink counter, then turning around and dropping them into the trash bag. This is important, because I literally could not have left the room. I was not moving my feet. At one point, I turn back and the trash bag is gone, along with everything in it. I checked the counter, drawers, floor, etc., and there is no sign of any of the items I threw away. I needed to be out of the house that day, and the entire time I moved, I looked for this bag. My roommate came home later, and I begged them to believe me. It was the only trash bag I had of that color in the house, as it had come from my work, and not the roll I had at home. Additionally, there was no curbside pickup at that location, so I had to drive all of our trash to the dump myself. I emptied the entire house, and even steam cleaned the carpets. For the love of God, where is that bag?
Comments. It was the universe helping you on the day that you moved, so you didn't have to take it to the dumpster. All you can do is thank the universe for the help.
My aunt told me a story of a rope that appeared in her hallway. Neither she nor her husband had any knowledge of how it got there, so they decided to leave it where it was. About a week later it disappeared. I've seen posts here about dropped butter that never landed, and about butter dropping in from nowhere in the span of about a week. Your bag is somewhere. I don't know where.
Right now, someone, somewhere, is going, where the hell did this bag come from?
I once lost a very important ring, it's silver with some diamonds. Was given to me by my mom. It slipped off my finger one day at work in another town over, as I was overweight when it was given but had since lost the weight. Never did find it on my work property. About 6 months later, it turns up in my driveway, dead center. I spend a lot of time outside and it was not there for the past 6 months. It was very misshapen, but it was my ring. The ring in question is incredibly unique and I've never seen anyone else with the same one. Mystifying.
We had a neighbor once, who couldn't find his toddler's favorite VHS tape. It had gone completely missing. One day he heard an audible pop and something hit the floor of the dining room. Lo and behold, there was the tape, smack dab in the middle of the dining room floor. We also had a ton of weird stuff happen when we lived there.
If the universe is like a big sheet, maybe parts of that sheet of spacetime can occasionally self-intersect with future or past points. Or maybe, in the domain outside of our universe, occasionally some stray energy, in some form, knocks small objects into a different part of their timeline. The smaller the object, the more likely it is to be susceptible to this mysterious force. But humans can, and do get caught up in it sometimes, hence people's experiences of reality shifts.
My theory of time being a flat circle is that the past, present and future are always happening in a given place all at once, and strings theory is what separates them in our view of reality. But we can open our senses to become aware of the strings that we can't see sometimes. Psychedelics, mainly, or schizophrenia, bipolar, autism spectrum disorders, can facilitate one's awareness. Other times, like when objects disappear and reappear, we are able to see the artifacts of others moving through the strings, or perhaps ourselves, without remembering it. I also have a theory that when we think we're dreaming, our consciousness has actually left our body, traveling through strings into other dimensions, and when we die in this one, we wake up in another that we've visited often enough for it to seem perfectly normal, that is our only existence we've ever known, and any memory of this existence will feel like a dream.
Alternate universe girlfriend fight. So, I guess a little context is in order. My girlfriend and I had been together about a year at the time, never had big problems, we are both pretty relaxed people. Never have had a big fight, never had trust issues, the whole shenanigan. So one day I was out in front of my apartment building smoking a cigarette, this was before we lived together. I had seen her the night before, had a nice dinner, gone out to a bar, then gone to my place, after which she took a taxi home. So as I'm standing out in front of my apartment building, she pulls up in a taxi. I wasn't expecting her, and was pleasantly surprised to see her. I put out my cigarette, smiled and walked up saying something like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" In a very friendly way. She scours at me, and slaps me square across the jaw. Obviously I'm dumbfounded, and at a loss for words, so I just kind of looked at her. She never said anything, just barged past me into the building. I followed her up to my apartment, asking her what was happening the whole way. She goes into my apartment, grabs her bag and some of her stuff she left there, throws a few things at me, breaking a glass or two and knocking down a bunch of stuff on a shelf. She calls me a pig, says she knows everything, and that I've broken her heart. I'm trying to figure out what's going on obviously, and she stops on her way out when I touch her sleeve, glares at me again and slaps me. She tells me something like, "I hope I never see you again," and walks out. I followed her to the street and she got in her cab, and drove off. The street was pretty empty, this was maybe 8 to 9 a.m., and I watch her drive off. At this point I'm just lost for words, scared and sad. Then, as I'm watching the cab drive away, someone hugs me around my waist from behind. I turn around, and it's her, in running clothes. She was wearing heels and a leather jacket before, and I went completely pale. She said, "Hi," in her usual happy-go-lucky tone, then noticed my look and said, "What's wrong?" I spun around, no taxi. It had literally driven away 5 seconds earlier, no way it could have turned in that time, and all the lights were red. I didn't say anything to her, just ran upstairs. Her bag was gone, things were still broken, my door still wide open. So then I told her. We were both monumentally confused, there's no way I could have mixed her up with someone else, and she's an only child. We had security check the cameras, and sure enough, me following a girl to my apartment. The angles weren't great, and the film wasn't great quality, but it was pretty easy to see me and my face, but hers was always hard to make out, looked a hell of a lot like her, but never a clear shot. No way it was the same girl. Still creeps me the hell out, and we don't talk about it. Edit. Someone in the comments made me realize I should add to the follow-up of this. We did file a police report, they came, gathered up all the broken stuff, and found only my fingerprints and my girlfriend's on them, same with my door, and this girl got into my building herself, which means she knew my door code. Her typing it in is on the footage. I just hope I never see her again. Edit 2. I had a conversation with a professor at Columbia, family friend, about this situation, hypothetically, not wanting to sound a fool. He teaches something like philosophy and other things to do with superstition and explaining the unexplainable. One of his explanations was very close to this. Somehow, a mirror of our world, running a nearly identical timeline, folded over ours or collided with ours temporarily. Maybe she saw me at the bar the night before with another girl, my girlfriend, not seeing her face, and decided to break up with me the next morning, coming to my apartment. Then, the amount of a disturbance that resulted in caused our two worlds to break apart right as she drove away. I'm not really one to believe in those things, but after this, I don't consider anything impossible. Also, that makes me wonder, if that's true, how much did that screw up this mirror world? Things can't possibly be the same there now, she broke up with me. I don't know. It's a lot to think on. Edit 3. Thanks everyone for the theories and suggestions. This is the first time my girlfriend and I have gone into thinking about this in a while, and this is the first time we've been able to think about it without being really shaken and scared. It's sort of fun, actually. Keep it coming.
Comments. My explanation may sound absurd, but humor me for a second. Imagine a scenario where you date two girls who look incredibly alike, perhaps long-lost twins even. By circumstance, you had begun dating them at roughly the same time and could not tell the difference between them. Essentially, you thought you were dating one girl, when in fact you were really dating two separate girls. They not only look alike but act alike as well, so much so that you cannot tell them apart. Also by circumstance, they never ran into each other as your relationships progressed. However, one girl eventually begins to feel like you're seeing someone else on the side. She realizes that you've been cheating on her, so she storms into your apartment one morning, where she has been before, to get her belongings and break a couple things on the way out. I realize this is ridiculously unlikely, but it's a possibility, no?
I thought of this actually. We spent a few days looking into all the possibilities right after. We went through the birth records on the day she was born, where she was born, and she was the only baby born within 4 to 5 days on either side. She's from a small town. The only other possibility is a doppelganger, but that still fails to explain the taxi that mysteriously disappeared. I live in NYC, in the West Village, with at least a few hundred feet on either side of my building before there's a street, and the street was deathly empty except for parked cars. Literally, as soon as it pulled away, my real girlfriend grabbed me, and I spun around no more than 5 seconds after looking away. The taxi would have had to have been going very fast, and run a red light. Do you have a creepy story? Please share it with us in the comments, and we will post it on the channel. Please subscribe. Thank you.